Welcome back to Not So Grand Garage. This afternoon I'm out in the driveway and we are going to talk about the manual glow plug setup I run on this truck. I run a white Rodgers solenoid setup, which is a common upgrade for the 7.3 Power Strokes. Bulletproof setup, and it works great. I've had a lot of questions about it, so let's get right into it. Well, not sure if you can see it on camera, but we got snow falling here. And yeah, this time of year is when these glow plug systems really become valuable. They really need to do their job. So especially on these old IDIs, they are picky when it comes to cold weather as it is. And especially when you're running blends of alternative fuels and such, oil doesn't burn very well when it's cold. So even though, like in my 2-tank setup I've got, there's very little mixture going on with the diesel fuel in the main tank or in the diesel tank, but it still does happen, and any amount of oil in that tank hinders how well this thing starts when it's cold. But anywho, glow plug system really needs to function. So let's go over how I've got mine set up. I've got 2 8-gauge wires here feeding these guys down here, which are circuit breakers for 2 different interior fuse panels. I've got one that's battery hot, one that is ignition hot. The ignition hot is fed by a 100 amp continuous duty cycle solenoid, because I've got a lot of add-on electronics in this truck that I don't want to burden the factory electrical system with. My ham radio setup, I've got power heated seats, I've got heated mirrors and extra lighting and all that stuff. I wanted it all powered separately from the truck harness because, let's be honest, the harnesses in these trucks aren't that great to begin with. But yeah, that's not what this is about. This one over here is our 150 amp circuit breaker that is fed with 4-gauge wire direct from the battery. It goes right to this circuit breaker and then right back up along the firewall and down in the back there. Not sure if you'll be able to see it. In the factory location, a white Rodgers high amp solenoid. I believe it is rated to 500 amps, something along those lines, which obviously the system doesn't pull because the 150 amp breaker doesn't trip. But with that said, that is fed directly from the battery, and the other side of that solenoid directly feeds the glow plug system. The harnesses you can either build yourself. The factory harnesses are built with fusible link wire and female bullet connectors, which will plug right into the tops of the 7.3 later style glow plugs. You can do that setup. You can also use 6-liter glow plug harnesses and just cut the plug off of them where it would normally plug into the 6-liter harness and put ring terminals on it. That works really well too, assuming you get quality harnesses. But yeah, as far as under hood goes, that's it. You've got a big solenoid, direct feeding power to the glow plug system, and that's it. Make sure the block grounds are good, because that's what grounds the glow plugs. And yeah, inside the cab, let's jump down here. Oh, this bumper makes a heck of a work spot. So much nicer than the factory one. But anywho, in the cab, I have this overhead console, which you can see I've got a glow plug switch there on the far left, a start switch, and I've got backup cameras and stuff on the truck as well. The glow plug switch setup is just a momentary switch. It is a nice rocker switch from Over the River and Through the Woods. I will link to them as well. I forget the brand, but it's a good US made brand if I recall. They're not cheap, but they are rock solid reliable, and it's a momentary setup. So push it, hold it, it lights up when it's activated. Works great, has been super reliable. I run the glow plugs for approximately 10 to 15 seconds depending on how cold it is, And yeah, it does the job. Hey, look at me, I'm an EV. Something like that. Anywho, that's it. Very simple system. The reason I went this, wow, the snow's starting to really come down. The reason I went this route is because when I got the truck, the factory glow plug system was trashed, and both glow plug solenoids and controllers that I had one that came with the engine, one that came on the truck. Both of them were junk, and in my experience with the aftermarket glow plug controllers, they're all hot garbage. They don't last, and I want this thing as simple and reliable as possible. So the manual setup seemed to be the way to go. I didn't want to use the cheaper solenoids that you can get anywhere, although I can swap in a cheap Ford starter solenoid if that one ever fails to get me home. You can pick those up anywhere for 10-15 bucks. But I wanted something I knew wouldn't fail and leave me stuck somewhere. So with that said, White Rodgers makes a fantastic solenoid. It's continuous duty rated, and I believe this one's rated for 500 amps. I'll have to check, but I will leave links to everything I used to set this up in the video description, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, ever since I've done this to the truck, it's been, when I put the engine in it 7-8 years ago, 9, something like that, I've not had any issues. I've replaced glow plugs once since then, and that was just a year or so ago. And yeah, there was nothing really wrong with them at the time. I just thought it would be a good time to swap them out before they failed. Motorcraft glow plugs is all I use, and do not get them off Amazon or eBay. Most of the ones you'll get there are fakes, and you can see my video on identifying those fakes if you want. I'll put a link to that in the video description also. But yeah, if you put fake ones in it, they will fail quickly. They will bust the tips on them or swell the tips on them, and you will be fighting getting them out if you can without pulling the cylinder heads. So just buy them from a reputable place such as O'Reilly's or a Ford dealer or Rock Auto. I've gotten good ones from there every time I've bought them, which I've bought them from multiple applications. But yeah, that's it. If you would, hit that thumbs up button. Helps out quite a bit and doesn't cost you anything. If you got any questions, comments, drop them in the comment section below. I'll try to answer them as quick as I can. With that said, if you haven't already, please subscribe. We appreciate you watching.